Hey guys, Josh Henkin here, creator the DVRT Ultimate Sandbag Core Training System, along with Jessica Bento. What we're going to do today is really focus on some specific core training for a different kind of purpose. When people say core training, it's really a vague term. There's different aspects of core training we can develop. What we're going to do is show you how you emphasize different portions, patterns, and positions that really enhance your core training but keep it dynamic and exciting at the same time. So the first thing we're going to work on today is we're going to do a lateral lunge high pull, and we're going to transition that immediately into a bent over row. So as Jessica grabs on the neutral grip handles here, she's going to deadlift the weight up. She's going to step laterally first to plant and explode up. She's going to absorb the weight in a more stable posture, which is easier to do because it's easier to absorb the load when you're more stable. She deadlifts back up, comes up, hinges back, performs 2 controlled bent over rows. So how does this relate to core training? Well, firstly, as she steps out, we're loading up the lateral hip as well as the obliques. And when she explodes, she's having to transition and decelerate with the opposing leg to absorb the force as she comes down, utilizing the trunk and the low back muscles all at one time. So next we're going to proceed into a different drill. And remember, depending upon the ultimate sandbag that you're using, if you're going to use a core or power bag, we're going to grab on the outside handles. If you're using a strength or burly, we're going to grab on the neutral grip handles. What we're going to do now is a rear slide clean into a military press. Military press in this case referring to feet almost together. What that's going to do is the rear slide clean is going to make us, again, utilize the hip, which is part of your core. Make sure that you use the trunk muscles to avoid any lean or twisting. And then as she presses overhead, we're going to have to balance out because our base of support is very small, the core to help press the weight overhead. So let's see it in action. So Jessica's going to grab on these side handles. Nice long rear step back. She's going to slide hip hinge, power up to that hip, and set up and press overhead. Nice. So make sure, because the complexity of this movement, that you set up and break it into the segments, making sure that you work into the clean, working into the press as individual components, making sure that you're really putting force to the ground to the heel, tensing up the glutes, and making sure you're not leaning back as you perform any aspect of the lift. Nice job, Jess. So far we've shown you how to move in a frontal plane load. We've destabilized you in sagittal plane. One of the planes that most people miss is the transverse plane. So obviously very key in our DVRT system is training all planes. We're going to show you 2 different ways to do it. The first way we're actually going to do is a lower body sort of transverse plane work. So Jessica's going to do a crossover lunge suitcase deadlift. So she can suitcase deadlift the weight up first. She's going to make sure that the upper back stays in good alignment. She's going to cross back over and then hip hinge back, and then drive up through the hip. So she's really gaining the glute med, which helps stabilize the pelvis. She's using the trunk and the upper back muscles to make sure she doesn't compromise her body position because she's on an asymmetrical load. The sandbag is pulling her over to one side and she's resisting that pull. Having the weight on the same side as the lead leg also makes it very demanding and not to actually produce rotation through the trunk, just allowing the pelvis and the hips to move. You don't have to go to the ground, so you never want to lean or use bad form in order to perform the task of the exercise. The last exercise in this series, and one of our favorites around the world, is now going to make her whole body produce rotation. So holding on the neutral grip handles is very important, and the footwork that Jessica provides is going to be equally as important. So she's going to start by pivoting to one side of her body. She's going to go ahead and wrap the bag around her body and continue the motion all the way around. The speed at which Jessica is moving is just about perfect. And the reason this is great core work is because by having it move in such many different planes all the way around her body, her abs are having to constantly contract and relax, her hips are having to stabilize, and her low back is contributing to the stability of the movement, making sure she doesn't go into any type of rounding of the low back. As you get more accomplished at this lift, our goal is to add a little bit more speed to it. So obviously a little bit of weight goes a long ways in doing these exercises. So when you check out this series, make sure that you follow the program that we sort of provide for you, see the impact of doing dynamic core work, and find out more at dvrtfitness.com.